Good evening. Good evening, fight fans. It's a hell of a way to start a broadcast. This is the Radulich Broadcasting Network alternative commentary for Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos Jr. for the unified lightweight title. That's the WBA.
It's not the unified lightweight title.
Matchrooms told me it's the unified. That's what I'm going with.
Matchroom's full of crap.
It's for the.
It's for three of the four major. Ostensibly, it's for all the belts, but one of the belts that Lopez has, I can't remember if it's WBO or WBC. So forgive me on that respect. But he has their franchise title. The real champion for that sanctioning body is Devin Haney.
Okay. So according to the wiki, he's the WBA super, the IBF, and the WBO lightweight. And from all the reading that I've done, if you've got like 2 out of the 4 belts, you're considered the unified champion. So there.
Look, he's got the majority of the belts. You ask me if is he the big lightweight champion? Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have all the belts.
Okay. Smarty Pants McGee over here. That's Robert Winfree. For those of you,
reality of it.
Joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Robert Winfree. How do you do, sir?
I do all right on this particular evening. Had a nice lazy day that I tortured myself with watching the Cowboy Bebop live show. So
yep, more on that in 2 weeks.
We'll be talking about that.
So you got a night off from MMA, but instead you're joining me here to watch Teofimo Lopez versus IBF mandatory competitor George Kambosos. This went through any number of promoted fights. At one point, Triller was the promoter of record. Well, that fell through.
Do you want to go over that long sad story?
Nope.
We've got time to kill.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, let's start with the fact that Triller is a boil on the ass of combat sports.
I think is Triller the one that's doing the Metallica triad combat thing tonight?
Yeah, they're having fights in a triangle.
Yeah, what is it?
They're mixed rules.
Kubrat Pulev, who we last saw him losing a fight to Anthony Joshua versus Frank Mir, who I'm sure the last time we saw him, he was losing a fight to somebody.
I believe it would have been the loss to Fedor. I'd have to double check.
Yeah.
But no, these are mixed rules.
Yep.
Like it's 4. I think it's like 4 rounds. First round boxing, second round MMA, third round boxing, fourth round MMA. I'd have to double check that.
That's amazing.
Look, Triller is a dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
This needs to be said. They came in and they were like, well, we're going to throw piles and piles of money and we're going to disrupt the boxing model.
Right.
Well, guess what? You got old guys to put on sad fights. You couldn't pay them, so you're being sued by most of them.
Didn't they though win the purse bid before the pandemic?
They did.
And that was a big part of it.
This is how this happened. Teofimo Lopez wasn't very happy with the proposed purse that his promoter of record, Bob Arum, put up for his mandatory fight with George Kambosos. I forget what number Bob Arum put up specifically. I want to say it was in the neighborhood of like $2 to $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't happy with that. Thought it was worth more, and he's entitled to think that. So they went to a purse bid, and Triller threw. Oh, what was it, like 6 million, give or take, over 6?
Something like that, yeah.
They paid like double what everyone else was offering.
It was an astronomical fee, like the boxing world.
For what this fight is, yes.
Right.
And Triller then spent, now bear in mind, Teofimo Lopez defeats Vasily Lomachenko, great fight, over a year ago in October of 2020. Kambosos that same month becomes the mandatory.
Right.
His last win was in Halloween of 2020. Now, Triller then spends the next 8 months dicking this thing around. They change venues, they change dates, they start to realize that they're going to take a financial bath on this, is what happens. So we need to get a packed crowd, we need to get a good venue, and we've got COVID surges, and we can't sell tickets. And eventually, couple of months ago, might have been 3, they just threw their hands up and said, screw it. They defaulted. So the way this works, they're required by law to put down some percentage of the total purse. as incentive to make sure the fight actually happens. You default on that if you default on the fight. They defaulted, so that million plus, I think, wound up split. Whatever the purse split is between Kambosos and Lopez, that was given to them, split in that same way. They then went to the second highest bid. In this case, it was Matchroom, hence being here on DAZN. And a handful of weeks later, we have the fight because Eddie Hearn knows what he's doing. Triller thinks that Pete Davidson and Snoop Dogg lighting up on commentary is a good idea. I wish to urinate. I would not even urinate on that dumpster fire of a promotion to put it out.
All right. So the IBF mandatory here, George Kambosos coming into this fight at 19-0 with a fight, with a win, as you mentioned before, over Lee Selby on October 13th of 2020.
13th, not 30th, first guy.
13th. Yeah, sorry. Taking
flip the numbers there. My mistake.
Teofimo Lopez coming in at 16-0 with his last win October 17th of 2020, defeating Vasily Lomachenko, as you just mentioned. So what does now? I'm sure the odds are very much in Teofimo Lopez's favor.
Oh,
He's
yes.
one of the greats going on right now, but what does George Kambosos have to do to pull off the upset victory here?
That's a hard one to say. Kambosos has a few things going for him. He's got fast hands, which is not nothing. He's not the biggest power puncher in the world, which could be a problem trying to stop Lopez, who is a tank. I think for the first little bit, he has to keep things a lot of stick and move, but he also wants to try and push a high pace. It was one of the things that Vasily Lomachenko ran into when he fought Lopez. When Lomachenko upped the pace of that fight, he started doing well over longer periods of time. It's no secret that 135, lightweight here in the world of boxing, is a big cut for Lopez, and he is not long for this division. Now, whether he goes to 140, which would be super lightweight, or do they go with junior welter? I don't know. Either way, I think they prefer the super lower rather than the junior upper. So whether he goes to 140 or 147, I think is where welterweight is at. Either way, there are unbelievably talented fighters in those weight classes for him to compete against, and it's largely anticipated that in very short order he will be moving up. That's kind of the big question here. The original plan, as stated publicly, so take that for whatever it's worth, was to beat Kambosos, give Lomachenko a rematch, assuming Lomachenko won a fight in the interim, and I believe he has. He's going to wind up taking another one.
I was going to say, Lomachenko, before you go any further, Lomachenko's already slated to fight somebody else. I'm going to pull that up for you in just a second.
Yeah, he has won one fight since that previous loss, and he has another one scheduled.
He does, and that is against Richard Comey on December 11th at Madison Square Garden. And that, I believe, is going to be being brought to you by ESPN.
Yeah, Loma's with Bob Arum, so most of his stuff is on ESPN. So, point being, that's the thing with Lopez.
It's a loaded day, by the way. That was like a crazy day of fights. You've got Clarissa Shields versus Emma Kozin during the day. Dmitry Bivol versus Umar Salamov also during the day. That's in Russia. For you wrestling fans, Ring of Honor Final Battle is that day.
Look, F in the chats for Ring of Honor. If we have anyone joining us live, whatever you happen to be, give us an F. Pay your respects to Ring of Honor, an incredibly important promotion at a time when it was really necessary to have an alternative to the monolith of the WWE. They've run their course. They're probably just dead.
The Lomachenko fight on ESPN proper, which goes to air at 9:00, and then you know who's also fighting that night? Nito Donaire versus Raymark Gaballo in Carson, California on Showtime. And then you've got work that night. You've got UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. That's a loaded day of fights right before Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely spoiled are all of us fight fans on that particular day.
Yeah, that's the day we're all going to turn into Marty McFly Jr. and just have 97 TVs going.
For the record, I will be covering UFC 269, which is a great night of fights on the MMA side of things. But Nonito Donaire is great. Watching that man perform at his age is awesome. You mentioned Lomachenko, who's pretty much can't miss action if you're a fan of boxing. So Great night. Gonna be a busy day.
So for those of you that are currently watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, feel free to interact with us in the chat. There's a chat area. I will, when I see it, I will be more than happy to respond. If you've got questions for myself or Robert, make them for mostly Robert. Then we'll be happy to answer you if you have any comments, any thoughts. The last time we did this, I was myself and Dan Lasby for Bud Crawford versus Sean Porter, and we had a lot of interaction. For the 5 minutes that we did the Zepeda fight, we had more people interacting with us when the fight was over than during the fight. Not that there was a lot of time to interact with us. So,
well, that happens when your fight ends in the and what was that, the second round?
Okay, we have a question on Twitch. Has it started yet? They're literally just now getting in the ring. They're letting you know who the judges are. It's Glenn Feldman, Frank Lombardi, and Don Trella, all from Connecticut. So it'll be starting momentarily.
All right.
See? You can check out with us and we interact. And so if you've got good comments, I'll put them up on screen. If you just have a quick question, we're more than happy to answer you. All right. We are getting final announcements here by our man in the ring with the crazy dreadlocks.
Well, at least we're not doing the national anthems.
As we gear up with final announcements here, we'll be doing this again on December 5th for Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz. That'll be the same night as NXT War Games and Beyond Wrestling Forever. We are not doing Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. Robert has UFC duties and I have husband duty. So we just decided one pay-per-view that weekend was plenty. So we're going to stick with the Tank Davis Isaac Cruz fight. And then we're skipping
Rolly, for the record on that fight, Rolly Romero injuring himself, dodged a huge bullet. Tank Davis look, Tank's going to roll over this replacement fighter too, but Tank was going to murder Rolly.
Probably.
That was going to be bad.
December 18th, it'll be myself and Dan Lasby doing the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight here in my backyard of Tampa, Florida.
I'm surprised you're not going.
I thought about it. I really did. I totally thought about getting tickets for it, but I'm like, I'd rather.
Then you saw ticket prices.
We got a friend here following us on Twitter that says this is going to be over in 3 rounds. What do you think about that?
It could. That wouldn't, put it this way, that wouldn't shock me. Lopez is a very slick boxer. He's got heavy hands. This is an enormous step up for Kambosos in terms of his opposition. It's not like he has, he hasn't been fighting bums, but the jump in class from his previous 3 opponents to someone like Teofimo Lopez is significant.
My thought here is I think Teofimo Lopez seeks to put this away early if he has bigger fish to fry. There's no point in taking, this being a mandatory and with bigger fish to fry and with the long layoff. I think he goes in to finish quickly so that he can move on and doesn't run the risk of injuring himself, further delaying the next follow-up fight. That's my thought here. So I'm with Beast Ninja 808 following us on Twitch that this is, I don't know about 3 rounds, but I think this ends in the first half of the fight rather than the second half.
Yeah, there's a really good chance of that. A lot of this is going to come down to some of the unknowns about Kambosos. If he's got more of a chin and more heart than we give him credit for, and I tend to assume negative in the absence of evidence to the contrary.
It's entirely possible Kambosos, because he sees Teofimo Lopez coming, fights defensively for the first half of the fight.
Oh, you have to.
The one that drags this out.
Well, you cannot. I shouldn't say you cannot. Lopez is such an aggressive fighter. The first few rounds, he's on the front foot anyway. You may as well just kind of concede that the first few rounds are going to be you're going to play Matador.
So if Kambosos can fight off that back foot, pull a little Shakur Stevenson, a little Floyd Mayweather, fight off that back foot, use his speed, evade punches, he might be able to drag this into the second half, and then we'll see what happens with Teofimo Lopez then. But I suspect he'll try and it won't work.
The big thing for me as far as Lopez goes, it's not his cardio in sort of a general sense. It's more what happens to his cardio if he's pushed. He can fight for 15 rounds. He went the distance with Lomachenko. It's more kind of the ebbs and flows of that fight in particular that make me wonder. You got to have a granite chin and slick skills to push this
Round
kind of
one.
firefight.
We are ready to begin here, not to cut you off. And Teofimo
here comes
Lopez comes out swinging. Yeah.
He is just all over
Swing
this
on
right
every
away.
pitch.
Yeah,
he went right after Kambosos.
You had a
To
pretty good
to the point where he lost his
read.
balance.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of the rust in that respect. He's really amped up.
You're in one of those betting states. Lopez is -900. Kambosos is +600. And for you weird people,
that's surprisingly close for boxing odds for this kind of fight. Believe it or not.
Did you see the draw? It's +2,500 to draw.
That's usually what draws are.
Okay, I thought I was amused by it.
Look, all right. You bet the draw if you've got inside knowledge, or if you just don't mind taking a flyer on a big long shot like that.
All right. Okay, this looks like it's going to end even earlier than 3 rounds.
Kambosos keeps dipping his head when he enters the pocket, and he's going to get clocked with that left hook from Teofimo.
Kambosos is already cut, and Teofimo Lopez scored big time with a couple of straights. Just pounded right in there.
When Kambosos can get Teofimo to bite on feints, he's not getting hit as cleanly. But when he either lets Teofimo enter clean or he's the one that goes into the pocket, like engaging straight into Lopez is walking into a blender.
Yeah,
it's a really, really tricky proposition. Even someone like Lomachenko struggled with that.
Kambosos right now is flicking that jab out there. He's trying to slow down the pace of Teofimo Lopez, who's just looking to take his head off.
Yeah, Lopez needs to settle down a little bit. Unless he bet a lot of money on him winning in the first round, he doesn't need to be this amped.
He does not want to be there tonight. He's looking past Kambosos and he wants everyone to know it.
Yeah, and in some respect, you don't blame the guy. Ooh, nice body shot. Kambosos just not quite the boxer that Lopez is, and certainly not the power puncher that Lopez is. You're starting to see that bear out. Not that Kambosos is, again, Kambosos is not a chump, but
good clean hooks there from Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez is great about hitting him when they get in the pocket or when they're exiting. He's doing a really good job about finding those.
You talked about Kambosos' power. Ooh. He's hit Teofimo Lopez clean a couple of times, and Lopez just walked right through them.
Yeah, Kambosos is not a great power puncher. And
speaking of which, he just knocked Teofimo Lopez down. Ouch! He got right back up again. He's pissed now.
You don't have to be a great power puncher to drop someone if you catch them when they don't see it coming.
Oh, okay,
that's what happened there.
That's a slip. But Kambosos wants to get right back in it. They're not. Oh, look at that. Yeah. We got play the Rocky music. We got some jaw jacking going on. So I'll tell you, you got to go 10-8, right?
You don't have to.
For Kambosos, or at least 9-9?
No. If you think with the knockdown, it's pretty much he's going to win the round. The question is, do you do 10-8 or 10-9?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is largely a question of, do you think that absent the knockdown, Lopez did enough work to get back that singular point?
No, there wasn't enough time.
Well, no, even before it happened, it doesn't have to be after the fact. If you just take the round in totality, just a
look. He won minus the knockdown. He won the round. Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, and so there can be a question there about whether or not you go 10-8 or 10-9 here. My thought is you're probably going to see 10-8s on the official scorecard.
That would be conventional wisdom and conventional scoring.
Yeah, you've got to do something pretty spectacular to overcome that. Mm-hmm. And while Lopez was certainly winning everything else, I don't think he necessarily overcame the point deficit. I'm just saying there's an argument there.
Sure.
And Lopez amped up. There's a.
Well, you made a point. You made a point before about him being, overzealous, mm-hmm. and he's been off balance. That's the one thing I'll take away from him in the first round is Teofimo Lopez, because he was swinging for the fences, was off balance a lot.
Yeah,
I'm wondering how much of that flash knockdown was him legitimately being knocked off his feet, and how much of it was him just being off balance and and being hit while off balance.
him not being in his stance certainly contributed. I mean,
Mhm.
he also got hit clean with there's something to be said for bad punches on occasion that land, because
Sure.
you drill to slip and deal with clean punches. So occasionally, and that was well timed by Kambosos too.
Mhm.
It came right over the jab, so it was a good punch.
Right.
But we see immediately in this round, Lopez is not overswinging. His corner calmed him down a little bit. He's still after it. He's still the aggressor, but he's much more in his stance.
They said breathe, stupid, breathe. You forgot to breathe again.
Yeah, he landed a good right to the body in there. Did Lopez?
Yeah.
Kambosos seems to be. Yeah, we see the pace here a little bit now, slowing down, and this will favor Lopez.
So what
He's
do you see
more of a
over
grinder.
what do you see over Lopez's left eye? It looks like we maybe have an abrasion or a bump or something. It's hard to tell.
I don't have a good scene on it just yet, but yeah, there might be something there. I mean,
Mhm.
you mentioned it. He's getting hit. It's
Yeah.
boxing. You're gonna fight. You're gonna get hit. Even the best. You've got to be the freak of all freaks
Mm-hmm.
to even a singular round to get out without being landed on once. Nice left hook from Lopez and close. I think Kambosos is going to get suckered into hooking with Lopez a little bit the longer this goes, and that's not a winning proposition. But he's still throwing, so good on him. But this is more what I expected out of Lopez. He's a little bit more methodical. He's jabbing upstairs and downstairs. He's not over swinging on all of his punches.
He's working now. He's doing the work now and not looking to just knock the guy out of the ring, which is good because put the work in, earn your knockout. There's no reason to go Clubber Lang in there.
Yeah, he's back on what he does well. He's winning this round at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And he's not off balance. So when he does get hit, he's not flopping all over the place like he was in the first round.
Your stance is there to catch you when you do get tagged like that. It's why you stay in it as often as possible. You can see the defense of Kambosos. He's going with a little bit of kind of the Philly shell, which is an interesting choice against Lopez. He's going to be a bit reliant on his slipping then, and sometimes that's not going to work, like right there.
All right. Well, clean round for Teofimo Lopez. Yeah. Definitely slowed down. Definitely was more composed. I want to see Teofimo Lopez, as much as I enjoy a quick knockout. I would like to see him be a little bit more composed for the next few rounds. Do some steady work. He's got this guy's number. This is not a fight I think he'll lose on points unless he makes an egregious mistake. But I don't. It's like you were saying before. It's not necessary for him to go crazy in there.
No, it really isn't. Unless he made a prop bet on himself. Like, in which case, sorry, man, you lost it.
Yeah, well.
But
so after this, we're not covering it, but all told, for those of you who are into watching more fights, Heartbreaker, Brandon Figueroa is fighting Stephen Fulton on Showtime, which should be. Yeah, when this is over, we're not going to cover both fights, but when this is over, I'm going to switch over and watch that. I do enjoy the Heartbreaker fights.
And that overhand right from Kambosos has been a surprisingly effective weapon. I don't think Lopez was prepared for it to be as. It's kind of a windmill shot, and that's the arc he's putting on it is kind of giving Lopez's defense some problems.
Hey, for those of you that are tuning in on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, or Twitch, go ahead and give us a comment if you like. If you got any questions for us, any thoughts you want to share, we'll be happy to take them from you and maybe put them on screen if they're fun. If you want to harass Robert, he's here for it.
You are salty about that one guy who said he was going to beat you up on YouTube or something.
Did you see the one comment we got on Ghostbusters that says, I can't see the forest for the trees? I'm still debating on how I'm supposed to answer that, or if I'm supposed to answer it.
You don't have to say anything.
I guess not. But we have fun on these live streams. We like to hear from you, good, bad, or indifferent. All right, Kambosos in with a combination there that scored.
Yeah, but he's struggling with that jab. Lopez is starting to find the rhythm with that.
This referee's getting his steps in, man. He can't get out of the way fast enough. We're in round 3.
These guys are all over the place. A pretty good body shot from Kambosos.
Good combination there from Kambosos. He went upstairs and downstairs all in the same combo.
Yeah, he's trying to get a little bit sloppy. Okay, Lopez is starting to feel himself a little bit at this point. So The man was in nearly the prime of his career. He was out for a while. Oh, we almost forgot to mention it, and it does bear noting. Lopez did have a battle with COVID that postponed the fight at one point as
Right.
well.
Well, they had a set date, and that, I think, was one of the last things that postponed it.
It was one of, yeah. Ooh, nice couple of lefts there from Kambosos.
Kambosos just bent right into that uppercut.
Yeah, he did. Oof. Yeah, he
Good
didn't
on
like
staying
that
on
either.
feet,
Watch
though.
it. Look at his
No.
legs. The legs always tell on the fighter. Watch their legs after they take a hit. How do they react? He did not like that uppercut at all. He tried to get it back too and missed.
Teofimo Lopez looking to work the body, get a clean open shot to the head.
Yeah, he really does need to go. I think he would be well served to commit a little bit more to the body work right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still kind of ooh, nice left hook. I think he's still kind of expecting a relatively early finish, and consequently not really going to do the investment in the body work that you might need if the fight goes into, say, rounds 9 through 12.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not entirely sure the fight will go that long still, but that's why you invest in the body early, is to set up for those things.
Kambosos was shaking his fist there at Lopez. Oh! And he takes the referee down. It's Pandelirium in the garden.
Well, the ref at least had a decent laugh at himself. So another round for Lopez.
Yeah.
He's boxing well now at this point. He seems to have settled himself. You can see him in the corner. He's not as amped up. He's not as emotional about it. So good on his corner for settling him down.
He was smiling broadly there for a moment. He knows he's got the fight well in hand. This guy is in only 3 rounds. Kambosos is pretty beat up.
Yeah, his face is starting to mark up. You see a little bit of discoloration around the right eye of Lopez, but it's not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
We see here in this highlights, Kambosos has some good timing on that jab. Pardon me. And he's been able to catch Lopez with it a couple of times, but it was a good right from Lopez and a good follow-up.
Here we go, round 4.
Yeah, the defense of Kambosos, it's one of the downsides of part of the kind of the Philly shell. You need to have good reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong, that's not the only downside to it. Every guard has pluses and minuses. That's why you employ them differently. But he does need to have good head movement, and that's falling apart for him.
Yeah, Kambosos needs to not go toe-to-toe with Teofimo Lopez. He needs to get on his bicycle.
Lopez showing southpaw. That's interesting.
Ooh, big combination there from Kambosos, ending with a good left hook. But Teofimo Lopez just walks right through it.
Yeah, the lack of punching power from Kambosos is becoming a problem. Lopez is a tank, man. He's fought heavier punchers than Kambosos and just kind of walked through them when he needed to. He's starting to go to the body now. We saw there a nice little jab to the chest followed by a left to the body. That's some quality work from Lopez. Kambosos' jab has been kind of his most effective punch, stuff off of the lead hand. Ironic considering he got the knockdown with the right, but Lopez seems to have a better feel for how to avoid that. And you see now he's starting to get behind his shoulder when they enter. That last right Kambosos tried just had no effect.
Kambosos is struggling to find an open slot, an open lane punch down.
He's doing okay, tagging Lopez with the jab on occasion, but he's not doing anything to really deter him. And you've got to do something to get Lopez to switch gears, to go to plan B. And if you can't, well, you're in for a really long night.
Lopez full of confidence in this round, just taking his time, willing to let Kambosos come to him.
Well, he's taken a few good punches, too. And that's part of where his confidence comes from. He's not afraid of the power. I mean, he took that overhand right, which is, generally speaking, one of the harder punches you can throw is that punch that way.
So they just threw up some punch that they've thrown just about the same amount of punches, but Teofimo Lopez has landed more than Kambosos. I think it was like 28 to 24%.
Yeah, Lopez landed a pretty decent right there in that previous exchange. Kambosos he's not being blown out of the water, but it's also pretty clear that that Lopez is the better boxer. And already we can see Kambosos' strategy and technique starting to fall apart a little bit. that last time they kind of got close, he threw a couple of kind of slappy left hooks that were easily deflected.
Kambosos is working that jab.
Yeah, God bless him. He's trying.
Yep. He got knocked backwards with that uppercut. They're fighting in the phone booth now. And
yeah, that's going to favor Lopez pretty heavily. He's the stronger
except
fighter.
Except that towards the end, did you see Lopez like slip and almost fall down? Like he can't.
You mentioned that this is a guy looking past his current opponent,
and
that's a dangerous thing to do. Usually with mandatory, I mean, you see what happens when Anthony Joshua looked past Andy Ruiz, who was just a fat mandatory, and even a replacement mandatory at that.
Yeah.
There's a degree to which you have to give these fighters their due. And if Lopez was too much looking past him, if he was too much buying into his own hype in some respects, that might come back to bite him here.
I just need him to focus a little bit more on his footwork, make sure he's not stepping over himself.
To be fair to that last round,
you
could make an argument for Kambosos in that one. I'm not sure I would, but round 4, that was not a blowout. That was not a clear round.
It's closer, but I would have still given it to Teofimo Lopez.
Again, I lean towards Lopez, but I think if you go the other way, I think it's defensible. Oh, nice right hand from Lopez there.
You mentioned before that every time Kambosos gets hit, his legs get a little wobbly, and at that time it was very evident.
Yeah, he's. I don't think he has the durability necessary to engage to take a tremendous amount of punches from Teofimo Lopez. Very few. That's not a knock on Kambosos' chin. Very few men are capable of taking the sustained punishment that Lopez can dish out. So the live odds are getting closer.
I was just gonna say, they keep showing the live odds, and Kambosos has come down from 600 to 275. It's interesting.
Kambosos he's not doing poorly. He's, I think, depending on how you go.
He's in the fight physically. Yeah. He's just not in the fight
statistically.
Right.
And that's continuing to kind of slip away from him. Well, we see Chris Mannix, the unofficial scorer at ringside, gave Kambosos the 4th.
Yep. He said he might. So we're at 38-37 for Kambosos with that 10-8 first round.
Yeah, that 10-8 first round is looming large, but Lopez is starting to come on. He's starting to knock Kambosos around the ring a little bit. Anytime they get towards the ropes, he's hitting a hook when Kambosos moves away from him. And Kambosos is not liking that.
Look, I see what Kambosos is doing here. I wish Kambosos would circle a little bit more and stop trying to fight in the pocket. I
think that's just a concession to the reality of the fight.
He doesn't
want to be there, but you have to be able to get out of those positions safely, and that does entail a degree of fighting back there.
I understand mentality-wise, if he's not fighting, he's losing, but he's also getting hit a lot. So he needs to be moving around more. He needs to make Teofimo Lopez chase him, and he's not doing that. Yeah, he's wanting to go chin to chin with him, and he's not getting the better of those exchanges. I mean, look, he's not a punching bag in there, but it's 2-1 every time.
Yeah, give or take. And we've seen Lopez land a couple of decent hooks in this round. Landed pretty good right there in the pocket.
Look at that. Look at what ferocity Kambosos threw on Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez did not move.
Kambosos is not a big puncher. And
he had good swivel hips there, and Teofimo Lopez, and it was like Teofimo Lopez was, a block of wood.
Yeah, it's another round for Lopez there. We are seeing a bit of what Kambosos is trying to do overall strategy-wise. He's doing a lot of stinging from the outside. He's trying to goad Lopez into overexerting himself. Kambosos is playing the long game here, and I think Lopez is finally kind of coming around to the fact that he's going to have to do that as well.
They announced the fight for Christmas Day for those of you who have time to watch fights on Christmas Day. It's a PBC fight on Fox. That's going to be headlined by Vito Milnicki versus Nicholas Dalumba from the Prudential Center in New Jersey, home of the thrash metal band Overkill. For those of you that care about such things.
I imagine no one.
New Year's Day is a pay-per-view by people who are on drugs. Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. Not even I'm getting that pay-per-view. Yikes.
Well, WWE's having a pay-per-view on New Year's Day as well.
Yeah. That's certainly part of the reason. Here we go.
And Lopez comes
round
immediately out of the gate.
Yeah. He rushed him before I even got back to my screen to call it.
Yeah, landed a pretty decent left hook there. Finally starting to go to the body a bit more consistently is Lopez. He's touched it a few times each round, but he's not really committed to body work. And which is kind of a shame. I think he should. With the way
good hook there from Teofimo Lopez. Briefly gave Kambosos some worry in his legs.
Yeah, anytime they hit the ropes, Kambosos is getting hit pretty hard before he's able to get off of them. He needs to be a bit more diligent about his ring generalship and not wind up against the ropes at all. But the body's a bit more there for Lopez if you look at how Kambosos is defending them. He just hasn't really committed to going to it. He's touched it a few times, but I think committed body work might better serve him.
You talked about reflexes, and Kambosos is a hair slower than he needs to be. Like he's trying to get out of the way of Teofimo. Like he sees it coming, but he can't move fast enough.
Yeah, Lopez has. I mentioned Kambosos has pretty fast hands. We've seen that play out a little bit here. Lopez has fast hands as well. If there's an edge for Kambosos in that respect, it's not by much.
Yeah.
The feinting game, I think, has fallen off a little bit for Kambosos as well, and that's going to be a problem. The more predictable you become, pretty good combo there from Kambosos. I do wonder if there's a degree. I mean, we're getting some ring rust here from Lopez pretty clearly. That I'm not saying that's the only reason he's not.
I'm wondering mentally how much that's messing with him. That he went into this clearly thinking he was going to end it by now, and this guy's still going. This guy's still coming forward. I mean,
and he's still landing punches.
Right.
That was a pretty good left to the body there from Lopez.
But I'm not seeing anything in Teofimo Lopez's body language that tells me, as I've seen another and thought about in other fights, where he's feeling frustrated. I think he's seemingly pretty well focused.
Yeah, he's still very present. I mean, I think he's probably a little bit frustrated, but more so with himself as opposed to why won't this guy go away?
Right.
Because he's landed good punches. He's seen the results of those punches play out.
Mm-hmm.
And he just isn't quite getting the spectacular knockout I think he was probably expecting.
He won the last round for certain.
A good jab.
He looks to be winning this round, so he's starting to pull ahead on the scorecards despite the first
nice
lockdown.
Combo from Kambosos there.
Yeah, but Kambosos needs to follow up on it, not showboat. He's not in a position to be, doing the Popeye thing of swinging his arms around. God, his face looks like he might, he went into the windshield.
Yeah, he's a little bit marked up. Kambosos made a pretty good. He might have stolen that round at the end there. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't think he did, but he might have.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some small cuts around his eyes. That's never a good thing, but none of them look bad enough at all to.
If you are watching on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, and you want to go ahead and give us your scar cards, we'll be happy to receive them from you. I have Teofimo Lopez up the last two rounds, but as Robert said, you can make a case that maybe George Kambosos stole round 6.
There's a case to be made. I'm with you in that I still favor Lopez, but if it goes, there's another one where if it goes the other way, like I'm not calling for anybody's job, which I have in the past, but I wouldn't over that particular round.
We're not saying that this one's 120-0 for Canelo.
Well, of course it's 120-0 for Canelo, but that particular judge is already asleep.
Gotcha. Moving on.
For those of you not in on the joke. No, I do not believe the scorecards for this fight were mailed in beforehand, unlike most Canelo fights.
Moving on.
Lopez immediately back to work. Yeah, he's getting to Kambosos a bit more regularly now. That jab, he's starting to find it more and more frequently, and the more he can build off of that, the more trouble Kambosos is going to find himself in. You can also see the size disparity here,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the reasons I wanted Kambosos to make this a higher paced fight. This is not a slow fight by any appreciable metric,
No, it's
but
been a good, entertaining fight.
it's just not quite the barn burner that I think Kambosos might need it to be in order to really push Lopez out of his comfort zone conditioning wise. Pretty good right by Kambosos there.
I'm enjoying this fight more than I enjoyed the Crawford Sean Porter fight from last week, where Porter just kind of laid in the cut until it was finally time to bite Sean Porter, and down he went.
You're a very weird man when it comes to stuff like that.
I mean, look, it was a good fight. I just prefer this one so far.
Of course you do.
But nothing quite meets the drama of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 3.
Well, of course not. And this isn't quite the technical masterpiece that was Usyk versus Joshua either.
Correct. On that, we 100% agree.
And it's not nearly the action fight that what was that great? We've had some great action fights this year.
Mm-hmm. It's also not the one-sided mess that was Canelo versus Plant.
That wasn't as one-sided as you thought it was. Let's put it that way.
Round 7 here, just about coming to a close.
Yeah, Teofimo
Lopez goes after Kambosos, and then
the irony of this,
he initiated he initiated the action there, and then ended the combination with a tie-up.
Kambosos landed a pretty good uppercut there. The irony is, like, this fight is playing out. If we're looking at who has the great moments, it's kind of the opposite of what you expected. You expected Kambosos to maybe be a bit more of the kind of solid output over the round guy, and Lopez to get the big moments. It's played out the opposite. Lopez has had the more steady work, but inevitably over the course of the round, Kambosos will find a couple of big punches. Those body shots from Teofimo Lopez have started to add up. Kambosos, watch his guard. He started to protect his ribs a bit more. He did not care for those. The question is if Lopez recognizes that tendency. And we get a nice little exchange at the end of the round there.
Teofimo Lopez smiling in the corner, doesn't seem very shook at all.
No, here's the thing about this fight. It's one of these fights. He's going to think he's winning, and he very well might be. And then someone's going to announce the scorecards, and he's going to go, what the heck? Now, even if they're for him, he's going to look at some of these scores and go, what are you people blind? I was winning by my own reckoning. And, well, your reckoning is not nothing unless it comes to how the fight is scored at the end of the day. Kambosos has hung tough through some abuse, and he's found decent enough spots for his punches. He's just been unable to mount sustained offense over the course of the round, which has been his big downfall. His sniping has been more or less on point.
If you caught us partway through this fight and you want to hear the entire broadcast, it'll be reposted on YouTube in its entirety. It'll also be up for audio on any podcast catcher under the W2Mnet feed. It'll also be on our website, w2mnet.com.
And we appreciate all of that, especially any of you following along live. But if you do want to follow along live, on Twitch, give us a follow. That's W2Mnet. It's twitch.tv/W2Mnet.
Ooh, big series of jabs there from Kambosos. So I like that he's doubling and tripling up on the jab.
Yeah, his lead hand has been pretty effective. It's a shame he can't seem to hit hard enough to dissuade Lopez because he's landed some flush shots. Lopez's face starting to bust up a little bit. His left eye is swollen up. Not anywhere near bad enough to warrant stopping.
Mannix has it 68-64.
Mannix has given every round since the third to Kambosos. I disagree with I think, what was it? 5 I disagreed with. 6 I said was a bit closer. I'd have to double check.
Something like that.
But Kambosos is boxing well.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's just a question of whether or not he can sustain his defense. And if that falls apart in the latter stages of this fight, that might spell trouble. But he's certainly overperformed relative to expectations.
Yeah, I think for anyone that blew him off as yet just another crappy mandatory, he's definitely earned his keep here.
Lopez is slowing down a little bit. I think that, again, that strategy of stick, sting, make Lopez angry, make him overthrow, make him work more than he wants to.
So draw has fallen from 2,500 to plus 1,200, and Kambosos is down to plus 120.
Yeah, the odds have tightened up a lot, and with that knockdown in a couple of close rounds, so is the odds of a draw.
Mm-hmm.
And for the record, every smart fighter, every smart bettor in the world bet the draw on the first Triple G Canelo fight. Because you knew that's what was going to happen.
Triple G, I believe, is fighting at the end of the month. He's
fighting Ryota Murata.
Yeah.
Which could be a good fight. Nice right from Kambosos
yes.
there.
That's going to be in Japan on DAZN, which I might wake you up in the middle of the night to cover.
Depending on the date, we might be able to do that.
It's a Wednesday.
Oh, nice left hook from Lopez there and close.
I thought for sure Kambosos was starting to go down there.
He might be.
I was going to say, he is.
We got a firefight here. Kambosos is a little bit saved by the bell there. Not that he wasn't landing in those exchanges, but
a lot of that he was off of he was very off balance, and it's not that he got knocked over, but he couldn't get good footing either. He completely lost sense of his footwork.
He got knocked around more.
Mm-hmm.
That round, though, I might still lean towards Kambosos if we're talking overall, the round overall. Again, might. I'm not sold on that one. But that's the kind of stuff that Kambosos desperately needs to avoid. Because
if this doesn't end in a finish, I have a sneaking suspicion when no one's going to be happy with the scorecards, and Twitter is going to be a buzz with, I think this should have happened. That's a train robbery.
Okay, never mind. I take that back. As I look at the replay here, Lopez had Kambosos in some pretty serious trouble there at the end of the round.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I agree. He got knocked around, could not find his footing, and I think if that gone 30 seconds longer, we'd be talking about a knockout in round 8.
I don't know. Knockdown, certainly. Knockout,
right,
I don't know. He was definitely saved from tasting the canvas in some capacity there, no doubt. But he's fought very, very well. Again, there's an argument to be made that he's winning, and Lopez was getting back. Yeah. You see, you should have been doing this. You should have started this consistent body work, 5 rounds ago, buddy. But he's starting to headhunt a little bit, not exclusively headhunt, but he's fighting a little bit like he's already committed to body work earlier more than he has, and that's you're not quite going to get the same dividends if you haven't put in the same investment.
I'll tell you, for George Kambosos is definitely scoring a fair amount of hits. My problem is, and I don't know if it's just the way he's throwing them or that Teofimo Lopez is using enough defense to take some of the mustard off, they don't have a lot of oomph behind them. So, Pat Mullen jokes around about like Deontay Wilder hitting with the wrist, in the palm and calling it a shote. And it's not that bad, but there's been a couple of times now where it looks like an arm punch that lands with the wrist.
Yeah, some of that's to do with Lopez and the range being switched on him at the end. But we see the power punches through 8 rounds here in favor of Kambosos. His overall percentage is lower, but the raw numbers, both in thrown and connected, are higher for him. He's forcing Lopez into fighting a pace that Lopez is clearly not all that comfortable maintaining. And it's a good strategy. It's dangerous. And Kambosos might still very well lose the fight. Nice.
He took a big right there from Lopez. Lopez has looked up. He started to go down there for a second, but he, all credit to Kambosos. He stayed on his feet. This is not looking good.
I mean, he threw back with that left hook, but he got tagged repeatedly.
Yeah.
And now we see part of the reason you don't really use this particular defense consistently. And I don't mean to criticize anyone who uses the Philly shell. Some people are very, very good at it. Floyd Mayweather being the very obvious example. But if you're not super diligent about keeping that shoulder high, especially in exchanges along the corner, along the ropes rather, you're gonna get tagged with that right hand over the shoulder like that. And we see now, Lopez starting to find that particular hole. It might behoove Kambosos to bring that left hand up when he gets into those positions. Ooh, did not like that either. He's getting wobbled.
Yeah, well, that was a clear round for Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, big round for Lopez.
If you're joining us here for the very first time, you're flipping through YouTube or Twitch, and you happen to see us doing coverage for this boxing match, you're like, oh, I wonder what else these guys have done. Myself and
Everything.
Robert, Daniel Lasby, Pat Mullen, Chris Bailey. We've done this past year, we did Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury 3. We did Sean Porter versus Terrence Crawford. We did the last Zepeda fight on ESPN. We did Shakur Stevenson. His last fight where he won a title. So
yeah, he did, didn't he?
Plus, we've uploaded all of our we've been doing this for a long time now, going all the way back to the second Canelo Triple G fight, and almost all the ones that we've done, including the entire Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury trilogy, are up on W2Mnet, and more will be uploaded over the course of the next few months because we've got some from our old feed that haven't quite made the site yet.
Yeah, they're coming along.
Yep.
They'll be up at some point.
So yeah, there's tons of boxing. Plus, we have the History of Heavyweight Boxing series, and currently, myself and Pat Mullen are going through the history of the four kings of boxing: Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Roberto I Punched and Knocked Out a Horse Duran, and Thomas the Hitman Hearns. We are currently up to, I believe, Sugar Ray versus Hearns. Will be the next.
What a weird fight that is.
Showdown at the Palace.
Ladies and gentlemen, get you a woman who will talk about your anatomy the way that Sugar Ray Leonard talks about Thomas Hearns' height. Look, Thomas Hearns. Oh, nice right hand from Lopez, and down goes Kambosos.
Yeah, he does. I was just gonna say those last two rounds, Chris Mannix gave to
Lopez.
Gave to Lopez. Yeah.
That was a nice sequence there by Lopez. Oh, and he just comes out swinging. Yeah, this is just about over here.
I think you're just a second or two ahead of me, but yeah, Teofimo Lopez is just doing the old Karate Kid, waist throwing hooks, and yeah, he is knocking Kambosos about.
Credit to Kambosos, he's not gone down again yet. He's probably going to shortly. His legs are not under him.
No, he's lost his legs here in this round.
Yeah, but Lopez, look at what Lopez started doing. He stopped pursuing and started doing the "come on and fight me."
Well, the other thing he's measuring,
he's measuring, but
one big shot.
He also threw a lot of power punches there, and his gas tank is not. Again, he's not running on empty, but he's not in a great spot cardio-wise, and I think he realized that. Hence
he looks to be carrying more muscle than Kambosos is. That's something I wanted to talk about at the start of the fight when I was looking at their shoulders, and the musculature in the torso.
There's a reason Lopez is moving to 140, probably, if not 147, shortly. That's in his very, very immediate future, especially after this fight. He might abdicate all of his belts after this fight and just move up to 140, because look, Kambosos he's not a chump, but he's laying down a blueprint here that someone better than him will be able to follow. And God bless Kambosos, he's still swinging as we come to the end of the round.
Just nailed Teofimo Lopez right in the chin.
Yeah, he had a good left hook there. It's a shame he doesn't have any real power, because if Kambosos had real punching power, he'd have had Lopez in some pretty serious trouble. But a pretty clear 10-8 for Lopez there. There might be an argument for 10-7. Might. Not saying I'd go there, but there might.
So some other
10-8.
Some other fights we've done in the past that will be coming on W2Mnet.com. We did Alexander Usyk versus Chaz Witherspoon when he first moved up to heavyweight. That was actually supposed to be Tyrone Spong, but steroids. We did
Look,
the Connect.
In fairness to Tyrone Spong, lest anyone decide to try and get on their high horse about this, kickboxing has the right of it. They don't test for steroids.
Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz Jr. 1. We did that fight. Keith Thurman versus Josesito Lopez. Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. We did a double shot, myself and John War, back in the day, of Valdez versus Lopez and Carl Frampton. Frampton versus McCreary. And then we did a whole bunch of UFC fights.
We've done those. We've done some. You, me, and Pat have done some watch-alongs for older fights.
We have.
We did one for that great fight featuring George Foreman.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me.
We're in round 11 here. Championship rounds.
And Kambosos is still trying. He seems to have recovered. I mean, about as well as you're going to recover. Yeah, Chris Mannix, the way he scored the rounds, he now has this a draw after 10, 94. And we might see Lopez take this round off and then look for a big 12th. And that's a good right there. And again, you get predictable with that jab.
Watch this end in a split draw.
No. That strikes me as very unlikely.
That's not a good sign for Kambosos. His head went all the way back.
Yeah, it really did. I think the cardio of Lopez being a bit down at the moment is what's saving him. Mm-hmm. If Lopez still had the ability to put the pedal to the metal, he might have been able to get this thing out of here by now. But
Teofimo Lopez is stalking and looking for a good opening to throw a power punch.
Yeah, but his footwork's fallen a little bit off.
Mm-hmm. He's practically standing straight up.
Yeah, his legs are not quite where you want them to be. He's cut over the left eye now. That thing started bleeding.
But that's what he's looking for. He is looking for a lane to come down so that he can have another big flurry like he had in the previous round and hopefully get a knockdown.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't think he's fighting at 135 again after this fight.
Oof, yeah, Teofimo Lopez will cut up pretty bad.
Yeah, I think he's taking this round off, more or less. And he's going to try for a significant 12th.
If I were him, I mean, I joked about the split draw thing, but I don't know if I would take any rounds off. I don't know if he's got, I mean, if you're going by Chris Maddox's scorecard, it's currently a draw, and he doesn't have the room to take a round off.
I don't think he's taking it off because of...
we got a doctor.
We're going to get the doctor to look at the cut. I don't think he's taking it off because he feels he's so far ahead he can. I think he's taking it off because he doesn't have 2 hard rounds of output in him at this point.
Yeah, the doctor says he's okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you just want the doctor to look at it at that point. I mean, we didn't get a good look at the cut from the broadcast, so no indication of whether or not a stoppage would be warranted, but I certainly don't think so at the moment. But yeah, look at Lopez, man. His hands have come down. His legs aren't quite where they're supposed to be. Might be overtrained, might be undertrained, might still be battling effects of COVID.
I'll tell you, like, this was
might have been a bad weight cut.
This was not the fight he wanted. This, I mean, for us viewers, or if you don't have a dog in the hunt, or a bet to place, this is a fun fight to watch. I'm enjoying it for the spectacle of it all. It's a good back and forth fight. But
round 11 goes to Kambosos.
But if you're Teofimo Lopez, this was not the comeback fight you wanted. This is a disappointment if you're in the Teofimo Lopez camp.
His dad is going to read him the riot act. He might not do what Sean Porter's dad did in the aftermath of that fight.
That was rough, dude.
That was brutal.
I don't know if it was you or somebody else I had that conversation with, where I was just like, look, I'm not opposed to what he said. I'm opposed that he said it publicly in the middle of the ring. All that needed to be said that night was, I stopped the fight because there was no way he was going to win it, and I didn't want to see him get hurt unnecessarily. Then you go back and go, maybe don't eat ice cream during training, stupid. You don't say that in the middle of the ring. I stopped the fight because my son didn't train well.
But at a bare minimum, I don't think Lopez can afford to give away the last round here.
No, he needs to start round 12 like he started round 1.
Yeah, he cannot feel. He doesn't have the energy for that. I mean, look at him. And I don't mean look at the damage. I mean look at his body language, his posture. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think I've said this before. I'm gonna reaffirm it here. I don't think he's fighting at 135 again. Not if someone like Kambosos can do this to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's.
And you're suspecting that it might that he was not conditioned well enough for this fight due to the weight cut.
There's any number of things, right? He's been off for a while.
By the way, Mannix gave that last round to Kambosos.
Well, the last round was. So did we.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last round was pretty clearly Kambosos's. Look, he might be overtrained, he might be undertrained, it might be a product of ring rust, it might have been a bad weight cut, it might be lingering COVID issues. There's any number of reasons that, and it's probably a combination of all of them. I mean, you're unlikely to be both overtrained and undertrained, I suppose, but
well, which is it?
Any other combination of those factors is probably what we're seeing here.
Okay, Kambosos has like a second like wave of vim and vigor in him.
Yeah,
you see that?
Well, look,
he's here for it, man.
He is.
Go Kambosos.
He's recovered.
Now watch him get knocked out.
Just
because I said that,
right.
And I am the curse of every boxer everywhere.
Yeah, he might. We've got 80 seconds or so left in the fight, and Lopez is still a big puncher. But the cardio is not there for Lopez right now, and I have
to give it to George Kambosos. He still looks way fresh in there, like cut to pieces, but still very fresh.
Yeah, once he recovered from the head trauma, like once he got his legs back under him after that, again, we've said this all fight. Look at the size disparity here. Kambosos is a more average 135er.
Okay.
This is a big weight cut for Lopez to get here, and he's publicly said, I'm moving up. We all knew it. It was just a question of when. I think in the aftermath of this fight, win, lose, or draw, he's moving. I mean, if he loses, he might want a rematch for pride's sake, but this is not his home. This is not where he's going to spend the rest of his career. He's going to do it at 140 or 147.
Our friend in the chat says, great commentary, guys. Keep it up. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to assume, sir, and apologize if I'm wrong, but I just know where our demo skews. And we're getting a slugfest for the last little bit here.
Yeah, last 10 seconds here, and
pretty good left from
Kambosos just laid into Teofimo Lopez.
And Lopez clocked him with a pretty good left there, though. That he didn't like that.
Oof. Right up in the clinch, and Kambosos with the exclamation point on this fight.
He thinks he's won.
Got the last punch of the. I'm going to turn the volume up on my iPad here. My monitor.
I thought Lopez was saving himself for that round to maybe throw something serious there. He tried, but I think he was more worn down than he expected to be. You could give that last round to Kambosos. My inclination might be more towards Lopez, but
I tell you, Kambosos might have stolen this one.
I
think it's going to be close.
He very well might have. He certainly overperformed relative to expectations.
For sure.
I think the way I had it scored, I didn't write these things down round by round. My apologies, I should have. I think by my scorecard, Lopez wins, but it's not by much.
Right.
And neither guy gets to complain about the scorecards here, unless they're asinine, right? Okay, look, if anybody gives all rounds to one or the other of them, okay, we got a problem. But there's a variety of scores here going either direction that are perfectly justifiable and perfectly acceptable.
All three judges give it to Canelo, 120 to 108.
Of course, it's DAZN. No, 120 to 100. He got a few 10-8s in there. Just because.
Well, folks, as we wait for the scorecards here, again, if you enjoyed this, you're like, hey, guys, when are you going to do this again? Well, we'll be back on December 5th for Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz, which would be a Showtime pay-per-view. The following... We are off the following weekend, but then we'll be back. We'll be back December December 18th for Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. And then
that still makes me laugh.
We may or may not, depending on Christmas Day goes, do the Fox fight.
Okay, according to Chris Mannix, Kambosos wins 114 to 112.
And then again, if I can keep Robert up in the middle of the night on a Wednesday, we'll do the Triple G versus Ryota fight.
Dude, my sleep schedule has been screwed for years. That's not really going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think I'm off those 2 days, so that won't be a big deal for me either because I can sleep after. So we got more boxing coverage coming at you over the next few weeks. I think the only weekend we're not doing anything at all is the weekend of the 11th. Excuse me. In January, we're probably going to skip the Luis Ortiz pay-per-view, even though I'm not going to watch that one. You've got a UFC pay-per-view on January 22nd. You've got Ngannou versus Gane.
Just gone.
It's
a great fight on paper. Really looking forward to that one.
We will, for you wrestling fans, myself, Chris Bailey, and Chris Sheehan, we are the Podsmen, and we're going to do our first ever entirety of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view live stream. So that'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be 4 hours of my life I'm never getting back.
You were going to watch it anyway. Don't pretend.
But at least I can watch with friends now, and we can live stream it. It's going to be a long live stream.
Boy, Lopez, yeah, man. He looks terrible. Like, both these guys look like they went through the windshield. Scorecards are taking a bit here. Which might mean shenanigans. Just throwing it out there.
All right, we got him. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action here in Madison Square Garden, we go to the judges' scorecards. Frank Lombardi, 115, 111. George Kambosos Jr.
We're split something or other.
We're split, yeah.
First one went to George.
Hey, see, Lopez, like, yeah, he thought he won.
Teofimo Lopez.
Second scorecard goes to Teo.
Look, I'm just saying. I knew as soon as they started reading the scorecards, Lopez was going to be like, "What the hell, man?"
15 to 112 for your winner by split decision. He's still undefeated. And
Yeah.
Kambosos, good on him.
Kambosos wins by split decision.
Yeah, look at Teofimo Lopez. I told you that
is gonna.
Look, I called that so
that
early,
locker room is getting trashed.
I called that. Like, he's looking there. He's feeling good. Like, he's gonna think he's won all these rounds. And then, and then look what happens.
All right, so I'm assuming they're gonna scrap the Lomachenko fight now, and they're gonna do a rematch with these guys. They have to, right?
Well, that depends. Because here's the funny thing about this.
Mm-hmm.
The
Break it down for me, Robert.
In the United States, the champion does not have a mandatory rematch for a mandatory challenger.
I was not necessarily alluding to that, but go on.
Which is just to say, there's a reason that Anthony Joshua tends to have his fights in the UK, and it's not just because he's a big star there. It's because if you're the champion and you want to have an immediate rematch clause in your contract, you can't do so against a mandatory challenger in the United States because of some of the regulations. You can in the United Kingdom. So there's a thought there. I don't know if Lopez will be able to get an immediate rematch. He might. I'm not saying he won't. I'm saying he might.
Well,
or
here's what I was suggesting.
Or Vasily Lomachenko decides, nah, I'm going to cash in and fight this Kambosos fellow, who's a much better matchup for me.
Well, here's what I was on about. I said the tendency to want to do rematches in situations like this is when the underdog wins it. Then the prior champion gets his last licks in. That's usually the way this goes. And let's face it, your IBF mandatory was your definite underdog. Not just in gambling odds, but I mean the conventional wisdom was Teofimo Lopez was going to win this by hook or by crook, and he proceeds to lose. Now the other thing is he didn't get knocked out. He didn't lose a huge decision. He lost a split decision that if you saw the look on his face, he didn't think he lost at all. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
again, I don't think scoring the fight round by round for Teofimo Lopez is egregious.
No. I'm saying I'm making the argument for here's the thing. If I'm in Teofimo Lopez's camp, as soon as they wipe the blood off him and he gets out of the shower, they're on the horn with Eddie Hearn going, rematch. We will not go down without a fight. That's what all I'm saying. I don't know how everyone else feels who's watching. We have quite a number of people watching right now on Twitch and YouTube.
If you're watching with us live, throw it in the. You don't have to give us your score. Just throw it in the chat. Who do you think won?
Also, do you think he gets? I'm going to put out there right now that we're going to look on Bad Left Hook within a week from now, or whatever boxing blog you follow or news outlet, and it's Teofimo Lopez demands rematch. Eddie Hearn likely to oblige. I don't see this. I don't see it any other way.
Well, I don't know if Eddie Hearn is the relevant promoter in that instance. Look, Teofimo Lopez is still technically signed with Top Rank and Bob Arum. This fight came about because we talked about it at the top of the show.
Sure.
Some of that falling out. If Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum don't play nice, there just might not be, unless there is a contractually mandated rematch. And again, if you're fighting a mandatory challenger, getting a mandatory immediate rematch as the champion who lost in the United States is extraordinarily difficult. You can put it in there for non-mandatory challenges, of course, but this was the mandatory, and that's kind of how that broke down.
All right.
So I'm not saying, again, this is not me saying it won't happen. I'm saying there's more hurdles than one might expect.
All right. As we close out here, I just want to get your quick take on this. We do have people. We have our friend here on Facebook saying they should have a rematch in Australia. I'm for that. That sounds like a great plan. Big news regarding Tyson Fury and Dillian White. I know Anthony Joshua said he's not taking step aside money. Actually, his exact words were, "I'm not taking step aside money unless they write me a check that's so big I can't say no." So,
look, he's gonna try. He's gonna lose again because I think Usyk is just a terrible stylistic matchup for him, and I just don't think there's any getting around that.
Well, the question I had for you was, there's still no definitive answer on Dillian White versus Tyson Fury, and now Tyson Fury is talking about possibly fighting Joe Joyce. That seems to be the direction they're headed in, because I guess Dillian White's still involved in some sort of legal wrangling.
Look, it's heavyweight boxing. You're the only person who actually cares.
Oh, stop it. All right.
No, look, I said it. I said as soon as Usyk beat Joshua. You said as soon as Usyk beat Joshua, like, we're never seeing a four-belt heavyweight champion.
Yeah,
that's probably true. Look, Usyk and Joshua are going to have their rematch. Joshua's not going to do the smart thing and take step aside. He should. Look, if you're Anthony Joshua, you take a check, you fight somebody else, you retool your style to deal with someone like Usyk. You test those waters for a fight. You only need one. You're still Anthony Joshua. You only need one win. You go knock somebody out, someone relevant.
Yeah, go fight Joe Joyce. He seems to want to fight.
Sure. You fight Dillian White. You fight whoever. Doesn't matter. You fight one somewhat well-known heavyweight. You beat them. And you're going to get another title shot anyway, because people still want the rematch. And you'll have time to retool your game appropriately.
Either way, we'll see what happens. I mean, Tyson Fury said late February, early March at the latest.
Yeah,
so
February,
if they can't,
he wants to. Fury wants to stay active, and God bless him.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not. I thought a month ago I would have bet money that it was going to end up being Dillian White and strict shoulder. Now it's starting to look like Joe Joyce, because Dillian White can't get out of his own way, both metaphysically and legally.
I mean, metaphorically, not metaphysically.
Nope, I went with metaphysically. I said what I said.
You can say it, but it's not true unless you want to get real deep into the metaphysics of it, I suppose.
Maybe I do.
Wherein the front part of him physically and literally cannot get out of the way of the back part whenever they start moving.
That's what I meant.
Sure. Sure you did.
All right, folks. Last night, speaking of live streams, myself and Jesse Starcher did a live stream along for the Live from the Doom Saloon Volume 4 Clutch internet concert. We watched the show and we talked about it for all the people. We had a fun time doing it. Seems to have gotten a lot of popularity on YouTube relative for us. So we hope people enjoyed that. We also re-aired our Celtic Frost review, our Saint Anger review from a couple of Thanksgivings back. My son and I, speaking of Thanksgiving, my 7-year-old son and I reviewed Clifford the Big Red Dog, Home Sweet Home Alone, and 8-Bit Christmas. We did that on Thanksgiving. That was fun. I got more podcasts set up for him. He's fastest rising podcast star on the network. We re-aired our Hawkeye, Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon, which is the inspiration for the new Hawkeye show on Disney Plus. Reviewed Black Friday, starring Bruce Campbell, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Survivor Series 2021, Resident Evil, the final chapter. We re-aired our review of the original Resident Evil movie. And then we had speaking of my son, we had a new person join us here on the network. Good friend of the family, Elizabeth Faust, musical theater person in her own right. She and I reviewed Tick, Tick, Boom, starring Andrew Graham, or some of you might know him, the Amazing Spider-Man. Everyone's talking about Jamie and Diana.
Hold on. Please stop. I have to correct you, because as amusing as that was, our good friend and occasional contributor to the network from the Canadian offices, Andrew Graham, was not the star of Tick, Tick, Boom. You're thinking of Andrew Garfield.
Sorry, yes. Next week, we've got Disney trivia, and that's because Encanto just hit the theaters this past week.
Which
we got a review of You Season 2. We will be reviewing.
How'd that one go this time, Mark?
That'll be Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I hope you're ready.
With alcohol in hand. We'll be reviewing
That's
Encanto.
A contributing factor to the problem.
We'll be reviewing Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. We'll be reviewing myself and Robert Winfree, as you see here. We'll be doing a special triple feature focused on MMA movies. We'll be doing Bruised with Halle Berry, Born a Champion, which came out earlier this year, and Warrior, which came out like a decade ago.
The search for a truly good MMA movie continues.
On Thursday, we'll be reviewing Animaniacs Season 2
great.
and Why the Last Man. And then Friday, we'll have a whole bunch of Volbeat reviews that we've done in the past drop. One of which drove Jesse into near insanity. And that's because...
Only one?
Well, no, we like the other Volbeat album. That other one is the one where Jesse almost went into the woods to live deliberately. We'll be re-releasing those.
Didn't you do that to Robert Cooper at one point with Heavy Collider?
Maybe. Because Servant of the Mind will be releasing on December 3rd. So go ahead and check those out. All right. That's all for me. Thanks. Again, check out our next boxing alternative commentary for Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz, a Showtime pay-per-view on a very special Sunday, December 5th, from the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, home of WrestleMania 21. All right, Robert, go ahead and do your plugs. Let's get out of here.
Oh, Mark mentioned a bunch of stuff. We have podcasts for movies and television coming up and in the archives. Reviews this week for Encanto and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, both of which will feature me. So that's always fun. I'm usually on Damn You Hollywood. It is ostensibly my show, and then Mark started doing a lot of stuff that we all know I don't want to do. So it became it's a nice little staple here, the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We're a good mid-list podcast for us. Before I get into too many of my plugs, let me just say a big hearty thank you to everyone who listens to us, be that live on any of our video streams or after the fact in audio format. In terms of purely audio podcasting, this has been our best month thus far in a long time. We cracked the 2,000 total download number.
For a single month.
And
that's just the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. That doesn't include Video Games to the Max or
the full
wrestling show or any of those other.
Yeah, the full number for the W2M network entirety will be a little bit higher. That said, I don't say this unkindly to those people. We do provide the lion's share of the content here. And I love those guys. I listen to their shows whenever I get the chance. So not an insult at all. It's
the point that he was trying to get to was we appreciate all of you
we do.
who have found us and stayed with us and continue to listen to our shows, because you are obviously what made us get to 2,000 audio listens and our rising YouTube numbers. We're not exactly screen junkies or screen rant, but hey, every little step counts.
It does. So we thank you all very, very much for all of your support in that respect. So give us a like, a follow if you're, and a subscription, depending on whatever service you happen to be using. Please share us around. If you have friends or enemies that you think would enjoy the show, please point them in our direction. Like, that's what I say about my MMA podcast. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a stranger.
All right, folks.
So hang on. So as for my plugs, I'll be brief, I promise. I cover professional wrestling 3 times a week over at 411mania.com. AEW's Dark Elevation on Mondays, MLW's Fusion Alpha on Wednesdays, and WWE SmackDown on Fridays. So give those a look over there if you're so inclined. I cover UFC action over in the MMA zone of 411mania.com. So if you're interested in my thoughts on that sport, or if you like that sport, give it a listen, give it a read. And I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. It records Sunday evenings. It goes live Monday at some point. And that is your weekly look into the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts, occasionally with dips into other combat sports as relevant. This episode that I'm recording tomorrow will feature some discussion of Teofimo Lopez and Kambosos Jr. because I like boxing too. You can like both things. You can like only one of them. It is not an adversarial relationship. And the only reason you think it is because you were suckered by promoters trying to whip you into a frenzy and make more money. Don't listen to promoters. They're scumbags for the most part. So if you're interested in that, give that particular podcast a listen, and wherever you're listening to this one in audio format, you can find that one over there as well. And I think that's everything. A very happy belated Thanksgiving to all of our American observers, as that happened earlier. I mean, if you're Canadian, it took place in October. I forget when Australian Thanksgiving is. It's close enough to ours, I think. I have to double check, so forgive me.
Alrighty then.
Hey, I try to be cognizant of our international listeners. You xenophobic boob.
And from this xenophobic boob to all of you, thanks for listening to our boxing alternative commentary. As long as you keep listening, we'll keep doing them. And even if you aren't listening, I'm doing them anyway because I really like them.
We have fun.
Yep. Go Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade.
Hang on. Because you brought up Demetrius Andrade.
Oh boy. Oh boo boo.
That man is terrible luck. He was in the locker room of Teofimo Lopez before this fight.
No, he cursed him. Curse you, boo boo. Curse you.
Demetrius, look, that's how bad Demetrius Andrade is for business in boxing.
All right. Before we shame that man any further and ourselves, be well, be safe, and behave.